Alright, so finally we come to part 3 of Orion Pax. This is the big action climax. This is the one out of all of these that I probably could have rolled into another review, and it really wouldn't have been that big of a deal. There's not a ton to talk about here, but there's still just enough that I feel like it deserves its own review. We left off last time with Jack and RC arriving on Cybertron through the Decepticon space bridge. Jack is equipped with the key to Vector Sigma, and RC is there to guard him as the key guides him to that ancient supercomputer, which can download into that key all of the information they need to turn Orion Pax back into Optimus Prime. This doesn't answer the question of how they would get Orion off of the Nemesis in order to do this, but they're confident that once they have the ability to do it, they'll find a way. However, arriving on Cybertron awakens an Insecticon. The Insecticons, like the Viacons, are a kind of drone transformer allied with the Decepticons, and this particular Insecticon was a sentry, sort of a guard dog, left behind by the Decepticons, in stasis, programmed only to reactivate should an Autobot set foot on the planet again. And this is our first taste of a truly animalistic transformer, as they do have a beast mode instead of a vehicle mode. And yes, Arachnid has something of a hybrid robot and beast mode, but she doesn't turn into a true spider. These guys turn into giant beetles. They're big, they're beefy, they're powerful. They're more powerful than the Viacons by a wide margin. I'm honestly surprised that Megatron didn't leave the Viacons behind in numbers as sentries and take these guys with him, because they seem a lot more effective. I guess they don't blend in on planets with other intelligent life, though, quite as well as a car does. Point is, RC fights against one of these Insecticons, and she's defeated, and it's only because it's interested enough in the key that Jack was holding that it doesn't stick around to finish the job. It instead follows Jack underground into a tunnel revealed by the key, and to make matters worse, he's also being stalked by a swarm of scraplets, who seem to also be interested in the key. And to make matters worse, the Sentry, the Insecticon reawakening on Cybertron, has sent a signal out which has informed Megatron that someone is on Cybertron, which in turn leads him to discover that the Autobots have seized his space bridge. And to make matters even worse, Orion stands up to Megatron and attempts to delete his research. At which point Megatron reveals that he's backed up the research and orders Orion to finish it under threat of death. He leaves behind a couple of his Viacons who are armed. Keep in mind that Orion doesn't even realize he has onboard weapons at this point, which is kind of weird, because if I had a gun in my arm, I think I'd know about it. But whatever. He doesn't even realize he has onboard weapons yet. So when he once again stands up to the Decepticons, this time these Viacons, they start beating the crap out of him. And to make matters even worse, Megatron goes personally to the space bridge and announces to the Autobots that he will no longer take them lightly. And then he just starts wailing on them, walking right through them. Bulkhead is the only one who even kind of stands a chance against him, but Megatron is strong enough to toss Bulkhead the entire length of the walkway leading up to the space bridge with a single strike. Yeah, they buy time. Bulkhead especially is able to stand up to Megatron long enough that Megatron doesn't walk right through the space bridge back to Cybertron. And we do see that he never really planned to from the start anyway, but it doesn't matter either way, because by the time that RC and Jack are ready to come back through in a little while, he's already standing at the space bridge, waiting for them to come through so that he can ambush them. He's smart enough to recognize that it's going to be RC coming through, and he's not worried about it. He's not worried about her. He knows he can defeat her. Meanwhile, back on Cybertron, though, and they do something really clever here. RC wakes up in time, we think, for her to get to Jack and save him from these two threats that are converging on him. But that's a misdirect, because the Scraplets have already attacked Vector Sigma. They're trying to digest it because it's active now. It has an energy signature. And then the Insecticon shows up, and things seem dire, but Jack, proving himself to be the right person for this mission, recognizes that the Scraplets are going to go after a moving, mobile transformer before a static computer, and so he's able to redirect the Scraplet swarm towards the Insecticon, killing the Insecticon, who then falls into the pit below Vector Sigma, dragging the Scraplet swarm with it. Jack has defeated both of these threats entirely on his own, giving the key to Vector Sigma enough time to download the information that they need. The tide then continues to shift, as one of the Viacons makes mention of Orion being the former leader of the Autobots, and he finally pieces it all together, realizing that he was at some point in the past made a Prime, and that something changed. He rediscovers his onboard weapons, and even though he doesn't have the combat skills that he used to, firing guns at guys at point-blank range is, at least as far as I've been told, pretty easy. He's able to take them down, and then, I don't know how he does it, but somehow he manages to get through the Nemesis ground bridge and confront Megatron, and even though he's no match for Megatron, he's there now. And so when RC and Jack come through, and Megatron focuses on RC, thinking that she'll be the one who has the Matrix, Jack is given enough time to restore Optimus. And there's this fantastic scene between them where Optimus asks if he's worthy, and Jack assures him that he is. The download completes, and we get one of the best Optimus Prime moments and one-liners in the franchise's history.
No! Megatron, be gone.
And now, with Optimus there, they're more than capable of making their way back through their own ground bridge and returning to base to lick their wounds and regroup. Unfortunately, Optimus doesn't remember any of the stuff that he did when he was transformed back into Orion Pax, which kinda sucks because he did decode some of the information that Megatron wanted, and I'm sure that it would be helpful to know what that is. But he's back. The Autobots once again stand a chance against Megatron, and that's all that matters. This is a fantastic episode, and a fantastic little trilogy of episodes. It's a tale of two leader types, Optimus Prime, and of all people, Jack, who we have been told in the past is a lot like Optimus Prime. And even though Jack is not physically capable of holding his own against these Transformers characters, he is intelligent enough that his presence on the battlefield is felt, and that's always been a super cool aspect of his character. And it's so neat to see such a well-realized human character in one of these shows actually get the chance to save Optimus Prime. You never see that happen, at least not in a believable kind of way. Every time something like this happens over the course of the franchise, it comes off as contrived, but here, it works super well. It makes perfect sense. The episodes expand the lore of the Aligned Continuity franchise as well, giving us a look at Vector Sigma and showing us a bit about how these ancient Transformers mysticism elements work in this universe. This episode lays threads for stuff that's going to be explored in the show in the future, of course, because it's the season premiere. It would kind of suck if it didn't. But most interestingly, though, it gives us really good looks at Megatron and Optimus as characters in ways that we haven't really explored their characterization up to this point. Megatron comes through that ground bridge to confront the Autobots at the space bridge, claiming that he's never going to take them lightly again. And yet he does. He doesn't kill them when he has the chance. Up to this point, Megatron, despite the fact that he has every advantage, has been losing to these people a lot more than he probably should be. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But what's interesting about this is this has always been an aspect of Megatron's character since the original cartoon. The difference here is, though, that by using stealth and the fact that he had a larger army and therefore could keep the Autobots at bay, this version of Megatron, up to this point, has seemingly been winning the conflict with the Autobots on Earth. It wasn't until the start of this series, when he made himself more public, that things started to go downhill, and we do see his attitudes change over time. And I don't remember if he starts taking the Autobots more seriously as a whole after this, rather than just taking Optimus Prime seriously. But I do recall some stuff happening later on that really sucks for the Autobots, so I'm assuming that he does. Which tells us that up to this point, the reason that the Autobots have been able to make enough progress against him that it seems like they're holding their own is because he hasn't been taking them as a group seriously enough. And yeah, that's stupid, but up to this point, he hasn't really had a reason to. Unlike the original series Megatron, who had every reason to think that he should take the Autobots seriously after just the first few episodes of the show. I mean, think about it. Megatron at this point has the power to raise and command the dead. Of course he's not going to be worried about the Autobots until they prove themselves, and at this point they have. And then there's Optimus, who, with all of his knowledge and wisdom stripped away, proves himself to be as true a hero as he ever was. Given the choice again, he sides against his friend Megatronus when it becomes apparent that he must. And even though he's unsure of himself, even though he doesn't know if he's worthy of being a Prime again, he still walks through that bridge to face Megatron, someone he knows he can't defeat as he is in a million years. It just goes to show that turning Orion Pax into Optimus Prime was a good call, because Orion Pax was already a hero. And it's not as if giving someone the collective wisdom of the primes doesn't come with its own risks. There were evil primes. If Orion weren't such a heroic person, there's a decent chance that Optimus wouldn't be either. In short, this episode and the 2 episodes which preceded it are great. They're a great start to this season, and they've gotten me super hyped to continue on with these reviews. Of course, though, as per usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think of Orion Pax Part 3, or the Orion Pax trilogy, or anything to do with any of these stories I've talked about over these last few reviews? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.